Just as there is a wave of fortune, there is also a wave of misfortune. The author calls it the induced shift and talks about how negativity begets negativity begets negativity. Everyone creates their own layer of the world, okay? Mentally speaking, energetically speaking, emotionally speaking, each and every human being has their own radiative existence. They are creating each their own reality. Robert Anton Wilson talks about this as a reality tunnel, okay? And each and every human being has their own. These overlap one another, okay? Which is why I hate solipsism so much. Because this is true, right? I have my perspective. I have my perception of reality. You have your perspective. You have your perception of reality. And we're all contributing to a mass consciousness. It's huge. And this is why the mass media is such a powerful tool. This is why social media is such a powerful tool. And why we're being, basically manipulated by every piece of stimulus that we take in. And this is why it's such a big idea in the book to turn away from anything that could be a potential destructive pendulum. And negative news and fear is always going to be something that is ultimately designed to hook you by the pendulum and get you into a downward spiral, an induced shift. This is all about negativity and fear. Now, we all know people who just have the worst luck. Man, don't they ever. They have terrible luck. No matter what happens, they see the worst of the situation. They just get completely negative. And what happens? They completely begin to unravel. And that is their layer of the world. They're very negative, okay? So they've got this negative outlook. They're an Eeyore. They don't like anything and everything is out to get them. They're a victim in their reality. And ultimately, that puts them in a place where they literally cannot get up. Talk to someone who is having a really, really hard time and doesn't want help, and you'll see this, okay? There are people who are having a rough time, and I'm not trying to blame circumstances directly on people's thought life. I think that's a little bit dismissive and simplistic, okay? But it definitely has a lot to do with it, okay? Thoughts are like a boomerang. We can only go up by noticing the positive elements of reality. It doesn't mean that we're not in a difficult situation. It doesn't mean that we're not struggling. Those things are very human and okay? Like, to dismiss that is, I think, the unhealthy, toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing route. And I don't think that's a very healthy approach at all. But you also run into people who are so hard luck, right? Like a blues musician type of mentality on the world, where no matter what, like, the odds just wouldn't favor that they could be that bad off. But somehow, against all odds, things just keep going wrong. And that's because of their focus. That's because of the layer of their world. Every time we experience a negative event, we basically have two choices. We can choose a positive reaction, which is counterintuitive as hell, or we could choose a negative reaction. And the same is true when we experience a positive event. Someone who's very negative might experience a positive event. A huge windfall could happen. They would still pick the negative. And then what happens, right? Like just like in the video when I was talking about the wave of fortune, if we choose negatively every single time, negative, 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 what happens to the quality of our reality? It continues to go down, you know? And it almost doesn't even matter, like the collective layer, right? Like this is what's built with everyone's reality. And since everyone is paying attention to different things, perceiving reality differently, and their realities are boomerangs and they're putting certain thought energy into the world, they're influencing reality by the way that they react to their stimulus as well. So everyone's doing this, and that's creating this, like, you know, this collective consciousness in the world that we live in, and this grand perception, which may or may not be accurate. And if it's not accurate, guess what? Balance bows to no one. So it doesn't matter if we're right or wrong about our reality. Ultimately, natural law will balance it out, right? Balance will ultimately have the final say. Equilibrium will be achieved whether we like it or not, right? Whether we're here to see it or not, it doesn't really matter. So in our own reality, we want to obviously probably avoid the induced shift, okay? It doesn't sound like a fun place to be. And again, judgment is going to be something that is a part of this that can push us downward, right? Like seeing someone who is having a hard time, who is destitute, who, you know, has had a really hard luck, and judging them and saying that you're better than them because, you know, of your thought life, or you're better than them because you've done X, Y, or Z and they should do it, and they're, you know, well, watch out, because balance will come for you as well. And it just will. So just understand that people have difficult situations. You can't judge someone based on any external idea of who they are, or how some representation that you think you understand someone else. You don't. I promise you, you don't. You don't know what struggles those people have had, regardless of their status or wealth, or, you know, wherever they stand in society. If you judge yourself against someone else, balance will come for you. Okay, if you say they're a shitbag and I have integrity, so, you know, I'm better than them. Well, it doesn't matter. You know, that's that's going to create balancing forces, excess potential, which results in balancing forces, and equilibrium will be established. So understanding this, it's not about judging other people, but it's about understanding that the way that we react to situations is going to have direct consequences every single time. And every time we're prodded, whether that is, you know, at dinner, when someone's smacking their food and we react to it, and then we take that ride, you know, at that point we are giving in to that emotional energy. And, you know, we're always going to do it, but it's about getting better and becoming more of an observer, understanding that, and being present in the moment to take a step back and sort of rent ourselves out, right? To rent ourselves out means to allow whatever is going on to go on without investing in it, okay? So something could happen, and instead of us taking the initial stimulus and response and then just sort of reacting like a clam, instead of doing that, we could instead hold on, be the observer for a second, and then be proactive in the situation, reacting in a way that is countering the script of what is to be expected that's going on. Understanding that we have a choice ultimately. We have a choice, just like Bill Hicks says. We have a choice between fear and love. Man, sure do love Bill Hicks, man. We have a choice between fear and love in every moment. And dude, guess what? You're not always going to choose. Me either, right? You're going to meet me and be like, what the hell, dude? I thought you were, you know, I thought you knew what you were talking about. But no, fear and love. Nobody's perfect, you know, and that's part of the acceptance of it. Alan Watts talks about Carl Jung and how Carl Jung was able to really see his own flaws, and that was the beauty of him. Just like we talked about in the last video on balancing forces, the things that are charming about you are, generally speaking, the things that you would think are your flaws and weaknesses. But when you explore those and when you put them in the forefront and you accept them, they make you so much more authentic, and they make you so much more approachable and so much more fun to be around and at ease with, because people know that you're comfortable with it, whatever that is, right? Like if you're short or tall or whatever, like if you can accept that and enjoy it. It's like if you remember being in school, right? And somebody would like clown on somebody, or somebody would be like, I don't like that nickname. You know, don't call me Jehoshaphat. I don't like it. Or whatever. I don't know. And the more they didn't like it, what would happen, right? Like people would just call them that. Anyway, everyone has their own layer of the world. We each and every single one of us have our own perception of reality, our own reality tunnel. And we are bringing into the world everything that we are radiating thought-wise, right? Like the things that are being absorbed by us, let's say like news media, say like negative ideas from friends or people who are around us. I wouldn't call those people friends. You know, we're absorbing that. We're not just absorbing it, but we're also choosing what we're radiating out. So that's what alchemy is really, right? Like it's taking a negative emotion and turning it into a positive, taking a negative situation and finding the positive in it. Not in a gross, unhealthy way where you dismiss everything and put your head in the sand, but you actively disengage from it, right? And the only way to build a system, oh, my phone on me, that's great. I saw this quote from Buckminster Fuller on a lecture on autonomy, and I took a screenshot of it because I just had to. It says, you never change things by fighting against the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. That's our Buckminster Fuller quote. This is a perfect example of things. The more we fight against something, the more we hate it and react negatively and react negatively and react negatively to that negative stimulus, the more we're actively perpetuating whatever that was that initially hooked us and jarred us in to reacting to that. So whatever it was that we absorbed, instead of absorbing it or instead of really just, letting it, hit us and being like, whoa, I'm going to disengage from that. Like I'm going to take that energy and I'm actually going to actively put that over here, right? Like I'm going to use a different operating system, right? It's like, Windows is a little Trojan-y. I think I'm going to use Linux. Actively build something different, right? Like instead of fighting against the thing, like, because the more you fight against it, the more you're actually perpetuating that. So the energy is better well spent by seeing whatever that is, and honestly, actively disengage from as much as you can, fear-wise. Anything that keeps you in a vibration of fear, in a state of just like crippling anxiety, paranoia, or paralysis. I've been there, okay? I am not hating, but anything that keeps you in that state, it's just not good for your psyche. Like it's not. It's meant to keep you there. That's what it's for. And a lot of people that make content that is like, hey, here's what's going on. So it's not. If you've got the message, hang up the phone. I'll just say that. I'm not trying to say stop making negative content or whatever. And if you ignore something, it'll go away. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, let me be clear. I'm not saying that if you ignore something, it will go away. I'm saying instead of perpetuating it, take the energy and create something new. Create solutions. Create things that are outside of that system. Create a new system, okay? So how do you do that? There are a lot of ways, and ultimately, you know better than I do what's best for you to do. I'm just here to sort of give you these ideas in this series, and if you want to work with me, then we can talk about that more in depth. And I guess that's a good time to end this video. Ultimately, you have two choices, fear and love. Choose love. Choose love in your layer. Bring a layer of love into the world. And the more people that do that, the more that begins to overlap and that shifts collective consciousness, okay? Bring love into the world. All right, so that is the Induced Shift. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Come check out the Facebook group. We are sharing positivity. We're not obviously, being unhealthy and ignoring things, but focusing on the positive, trying to build new systems, building a network of people. So come check us out on the Facebook group. That link is in the description. If you want to work with me, hit up my website, homepage, bootsy.greenwood.com. There's a coaching program that I'm going through right now, as well as I'll give you a free audio book or ebook, and then there's several other exercises and resources there on the webpage, absolutely free. Some are mine, some are gifts from friends. Very big thanks to all my friends who have collaborated with me. I really appreciate it. And let's see. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, Patreon, I'm over there too. I do a weekly over there, and I've got some free resources over there as well. But check out my website, please, bootsy.greenwood.com. I would like to stay in touch with you. I would like your email address so that I can let you know where I'm at. I'm on all the other platforms as well, or at least most of them that are relevant. Thanks to my friends at contentsafe.co. Big shout out to those folks. Really, really appreciate all their hard work and diligence keeping people safe from censorship. So no matter what your opinion is, I think being able to express yourself is sort of important in a democratic society or even a constitutional republic. All right, we'll see you guys next time.